Hello my friends and welcome back. It's episode 54 and it's nice for everything to be back to normal, and by back to normal I mean that we are going to be doing a pretty standard land battle from right to left, just destroying everything in our path. But of course that means that we've got to go through this giant pain of putting everything back the way it was and everything back to normal. Shuffling all this garbage away. Do you know what I wish for? I actually wish for a button that just lets me unequip heroes. I mean, you could do it pretty quickly by actually just having the actual screen open and tagging our way through. Okay, the old distraction recon cars are fine as they are. Actually, I will keep them like that. Right, go away. By the power of keyboard shortcuts, I compel you. Let's take learns from mistakes off. I'll give it some thought. Let's set this guy back down to the standard. The standard size of 12. Normally have my artillery maxed out. I'm gonna actually do a guide. A guide at some point about how how the stats interact in such a way as why overstrength is actually really good. But anyway. Okay, this is bar. Who I currently use to kill enemies and remove entrenchment when he's done. And Gallant, who I use to kill aircraft in the same way, except that I then use him as support when he's done. But we can certainly take cheap replacements off. I didn't know what to do with it earlier. So many copies of No Retaliation. It's hilarious. Anyway, I don't need that many fighters. Now, what's interesting to me is we've actually gained a load of British fighters, and I'm going to actually talk about them in a minute. Let's pull these off. I'm not going to shuffle that plane away. I think I'm going to try and level it up. I will shuffle that one away. And I'll shuffle this one away. Let's work on these two. Let's work on a more standard level of overstrength. These are my anti-shipping platforms. Do I have a... So my decision making needs to change based on whether I can get my hands on a supply airport or not. See, I have two airports here, but neither of them are supply airports. Is there a supply airport on the map anywhere? No. In fact, the enemy does not have any supply hexes at all. So this is a map. And I'm not suggesting that I would do this. But this is a map where you could use boat engineers to make a wall here. And then travel along the top edge of the map. Leaving a little breadcrumb trail of boat engineers behind you. You could even... you could literally use your auxiliary slots to buy a whole set of boat engineers for the sole purpose of leaving a trail of them behind as you cut along the top of the map. And then cut down. Because then you would have the whole map encircled. Now, they could get supply from these port tiles, but you could block that with your ships, as long as you win the ocean battle. Anyway, I won't be doing that because it's just a pain in the ass with the traits I have. Okay, alright, so... let's deal with our artillery first. Do I want 3 artillery or 2? At 85 slots, I think we've reached the point now where we could probably justify 3 artillery. It's 21 centimeter, this bad boy. Let's go. Fast deployment, lethal attack, and 0 slots. Could change fast deployment for something to increase the firepower of this thing, but I don't want to make this artillery so powerful that it can just delete 6 units a turn. It's really overbearing. Now this artillery is actually less expensive than the KVs, so I'll use reduced slots on this one. Fast deployment. And artillery. That way I've got a 15 centimeter with a similar reach to the 21. 4 tiles of reach is loads. And then this one I just use as a lighter artillery for defending. What would you put on a light artillery that you're just going to use for defending? I guess aiming assistance is useful because it will always be behind the front line. Unyielding, because artillery likes to be suppressed. The enemy likes to suppress artillery. And I don't know, we'll stick River Assault in there, because why the hell not? There's actually a fair number of rivers on this map. Sometimes you wanna... when you breach a river, you've got like a unit like next to the river tile. It can sometimes make sense to put the artillery in the river tile with the unit that's breached the river on the other side. I don't know, it's really is a hero of limited utility. If I was ever running low on prestige, it would be the first one I would sell. Right, in terms of anti-air, I'm pretty content to just use the 2 centimeter guns. Just gotta remember that the mechanized ones are quite easy to kill. I'll sort out my tanks in a second. I mean, the mechanization is useful, but it's expensive. You don't realize how expensive it is until you know, when you realize that a 12 strength 2 centimeter is one slot, is just a single slot. So you really can have a whole lot of them. And if you try the same with this, then it's going to have to be 11 strength, so it's going to have a little bit less firepower, and it's going to cost you a slot more. You just don't want to pay over the odds for anything, basically. I wouldn't mind having an 8.8 actually. What is really good about these is that they can move 2 tiles and still shoot, which is actually not bad for a deployable. Right, it's pretty critical that I actually provide transport for these as well. Let's have one 8.8. Do you know what's funny? Is we're buying the same transport as this. It's almost the same vehicle, but it's costing us a slot less, so it's so amusing to me. Alright. So we're actually slightly heavy on the strap bombers, but that's because we've got a navy to deal with. Field repairs. Let's take unyielding off and let's put 0 slots on, as it should be. I should have 1 0 slots guy left. Sebastian Bora, 0 slots. That's reduced slots. Eh? Oh, there he is. I'm like, where is he? I can't find him. There he is. Probably taking your zone of control off as well. Okay, so the 3 most expensive items, the biggest ticket item is the 21 centimeter, which is 0 slots, then a KV2, which is also 0 slots, and then reduced slots for this one. You know what I should do is I should take this guy off this one and put him on this one instead. Although, I mean, the KVs are so tough. It almost doesn't feel like there is a need to have this guy on them. But one thing I will do is this one that's only got 1 star, this is only like 1 star of experience. We'll put fast learner on this guy. Okay, the Surrender-matic. My favorite. Overwhelming attack, plus envelopment. And no retaliation. Perfect. Is there a better tank for him now? We have unlocked the 3G, which is not superior to the 3H. And the IVE, which is more of an anti-infantry vehicle, and is also not superior to the 3H. So the answer basically is no. The Char 2C is a nice choice. Much better defensively. But sadly, it uses a lot more slots, and it's just too slow. I think we can say that for most of these tanks, is that they're just too slow. Right, infantry-wise, what am I looking at? Nice clear open area down the bottom. Some light forestry around the top. This map feels very familiar to the last one. In fact, this section here seems identical to the previous section, except that now there's a barricade here. Yeah, it genuinely is, isn't it? Okay, well, whatever. This top area is where there's plenty of close combat tiles, and there's some city to deal with. So I think it's reasonable to take 2 infantry for this. Let's take these 2. We can begin there leveling them up. I don't think I want them as paratroopers, though. Interestingly, that paratroopers do enjoy better initiative than other infantry, which would indicate that they would win most fights because they get to shoot first. But they do not enjoy, unfortunately for them, they do not enjoy the power of Ignor's entrenchment. Which is the main reason why you bring engineers along. It's worth paying the slot for this truck, because it adds 5 to your soft attack and 1 to your hard attack, which is actually pretty significant. But what is good about these engineers now, of course, is that I have the... I have first aid heroes. So instead of over-strengthening them, I can just rest them if I need to. Right, if these guys are going to clean out the enemy for me, I need probably more than any other unit to put no retaliation on them so that they can just walk in and clean up. Fortunately for me, I have just a metric ass load of no retaliation characters, even including the ones that I put on my planes. Normally, I'd put hit and run on that infantry, because this guy gives +2 initiative, so that almost guarantees that they'll always shoot first. I've got 2 readiness. Let's put 1 readiness on this. Normally put the other one on that tank. Okay, alright. 75 of 85. Time to shuffle in some tanks. I got this guy all the way up to nearly maxed out experience. The only thing he's missing is his steamroller. Let's take this tank here. And this one here. Okay, so this is the 3H and this is the IVD. I'd rather have the 3G, to be honest with you. Okay, that leaves me with 2 slots. It's a pretty solid setup. Probably do with 1 more tank. Okay, so I have a readiness left over, which allows you to shoot first. And so I was looking at aircraft. And I was looking specifically at the Spitfire. The thing with the Spitfire is, it's actually got less initiative than the Messerschmitt, for whatever reason. In fact, the only way that it's superior is that it has 2 more air defense. So that means that it's sort of contrary to history. The Spitfire is better defensively, in that if you attack it, you're going to do less damage to it. But in terms of offensive capability, it's really has very little over the Messerschmitt, which was not true historically. Spitfires devoured Messerschmitts like 3 or 4 to 1. So I don't think the trade-off is particularly worth it. I mean, it's alright. It's, you know, since I use no retaliation, it's not a problem to use the Spitfire and gain that extra defense, because with no retaliation, you're kind of skipping the importance of initiative, because you're going to just shoot first with no retaliation. But it's interesting that defensively, you have to wonder whether 2 defense is worth it over 1 initiative, because initiative helps you defensively as well. Now, what is interesting is the Hurricane. Now, the Hurricane's initiative and defense are both awful, meaning that you basically unload into it before it gets to shoot back. But its weapons are actually really good. Really good. And +4 to anti-tank is actually really quite solid, because and I'll probably cover this in a guide video. Ground defense for a lot of soft units is enough that 1 hard attack would never score any kills, but 4 just might. So that is actually a pretty solid upgrade. And going from 11 to 12 air attack is also actually not a bad upgrade. If only you could prevent this from being attacked, it would be great. And that was where the thought came to me. So Bar, because he's got double strike, I put Entrenchment Killer on him. Because he could, you know, attacking twice, he can double the benefit of Entrenchment Killer. When he is done killing all the enemy's aircraft, I could then put him into a secondary role of Entrenchment Stripper. But if I give him Readiness instead, now he will always shoot first. So now, that offsets the weaknesses of the Hurricane. Which is that its defensive stats are awful. So now, Bar can actually operate a Hurricane. And that Hurricane, the negative aspects of it being a Hurricane are offset by the fact that he will always strike first, so initiative won't matter. And that extra firepower can be brought to bear to bring the enemy down. The other thing about this is that he becomes a really good scout plane, because he can attack deep into enemy territory, and enemy fighters attacking him are going to be hit first. So it is very unlikely that they will choose to do that, because they would be murdered. So that leaves Galland. And the question becomes, would you want to trade, you know, that extra bit of air defense in exchange for initiative? I don't know if it matters either way. I guess we'll just use the Spitfire because it's iconic. What I will do is I'll put Entrenchment Killer on Galland, which is where it used to be before I had double attack anyway. Right. So we got 2 tanks here. Not terribly high level. Got a little bit of a way to go before they steamroll. Oh, this guy's got loads of the way to go. But he has got Survivor. Let's tool this guy up and see if we can pile some steamrolls onto him. Double attack, initiative, tank killer, and aggressive counterattack. That would be good with readiness as well. But ignores entrenchment is going to help this guy to actually get kills. Okay, that leaves this tank here. Aggressive counterattack is actually pretty good on exposed fighters. Just makes them a little bit less pleasant to try and shoot at. Okay, let's put unyielding on my heavy anti-air because the AI loves to suppress your artillery. It also loves to suppress your anti-aircraft guns. Maybe we'll have guy who destroys movement here can get anywhere. If only River Assault actually... Let's put leadership on him as well. If only River Assault actually let you move through rivers without penalties. I know it lets you ignore combat penalties, but if it actually let you also move through river tiles as if they were road, then it would be a hero worth having. Sure, why not? What else am I going to do with it? Okay, that leaves cheap replacements. It's probably actually best on this thing. This anti-aircraft artillery is probably one of the most expensive units to actually repair. Okay, I don't know if he's gonna learn, if he's gonna even lose anything this mission, but why not? Okay, that leaves 2 slots. Which means we could take another recon if we wanted. And we could take some bridge engineers just for padding. For the sake of padding out, we could take that stupid armored train. I will never use that thing. Such a turd. What a disappointment this thing was. What a disappointment. Can be upgraded. To what? Nothing. I don't even think it's worth any prestige, is it? 340 prestige, oh well. I guess you could sell the thing. Such a shame. Such a shame. You would genuinely need to spend a lot of heroes on it to turn it into something good, and then you just think to yourself, you could be using those heroes to actually do, you know, you could be using those heroes for something more important, frankly. Let's take an extra recon car. I'm gonna do some padding. Why not do some padding with these recon vehicles? And you know, they have some utility in both absorbing damage, blocking close tiles, and gaining EXP for potentially being converted into a different class at some point. So recons level up faster than anything else. I'm reaching the point now where most of my units are actually maxed out, and all the spares that I've put to one side are also getting maxed out. Still a long way to go in putting steamroller on things, but we are getting there, slowly but surely. I think the day is coming when pretty much all of my vehicles are going to have the capability to steamroll. If only I could get my hands on an overrun hero, I could start training up infantry. Okay. Alright, I think we're good to go. In terms of auxiliaries, I'm just going to do a spy plane spam. We'll go from there after that. To be fair to my spy planes, they mostly seem to survive these battles. Okay, so we want a fighter in the center of each airport. Maybe I want to run 2 fighters down this airport. I gotta be careful. I don't want to have so many planes and then the friggin' gaff gets sunk. Okay, so the strat bombers need to be here anyway because they can't be based on the sea. Okay, so the gaff, dive bombers, and scout planes. Why the hell not? We'll just have 1 scout plane up here. Literally have this scout plane, so it's got four vision. So literally just have it fly in a straight line just to see the area. And I'll just have this one fly in a straight line to see the area. And this is the important spy planes here. Okay, plenty of auxiliary slots left, so we can use our aux slots to deploy things as required, as necessary. I should really rename this to something that's not Gallon's Fire. I'll have that fire up there just to offer support. In fact, what I'll do is it's just a shame that this plane is a bit inferior. I wouldn't have minded having that extra reach. Alright, that'll do. What I'll do is I'll bring the gaff in tight to the coastline anyway. And try and take this airport as quickly as possible. So that there's plenty of airfields to go to. Because as it stands right now, I'm over-deployed. And by over-deployed, I mean if the aircraft carrier gets sunk, there's not enough spaces for my aircraft to go to. Well, we do have the Vulture though, the Bircher, which is really a 3-star experience. Pretty cool, actually. I know that the Bismarck is a better piece of kit statistically. 15, 22, and 16 naval attack. $12 and 14. Alright. Okay, let's get deploying. So, the bonus objective is to take this top area and this area before you take the bottom areas. So I guess we'll actually be pushing across the top more than anything. I guess we'll just be making a wall and pushing it. Okay, so let's have the infantry in the front for this area here. Let's have the KVs on the front as well because they're nice and slow. You're not a KV. Okay, let's have the old surrender machine up here to help clear this, because this is a tight area, so the surrender machine is quite useful for getting key units to surrender, so I can just punch in there. Let's have the 3H in the center, where it can support from all directions, and this double striker down here. Okay, recon bikes to block the way. up here in the close tiles would be useful. We'll have one here. So yeah, it's starting to feel like I don't quite have enough ground units deployed. If I didn't have poor ground control, it would be fine. But I do have poor ground control, so it's not fine. Right, first things first, let's put the artillery support down. 21 here, 15 here, and the light 15 up here with the river. With the river assault across this river bit. So this is like a light team here that's going to push this tight area, and this is going to be the main bulk of my force. Okay, so that leaves me with a lot of holes in my defense. Let's first deploy our anti-air, of course, to support our artillery. Heavy anti-air down here. Light anti-air up here to support these guys. So a light anti-air here too. Okay. So what I need now is I need some padding. My favorite victims. I'm wondering whether I should use bridge engineers as padding or use regulars, because I mean, let's be honest, there isn't actually a huge cost difference. The main difference is in slot cost, but I have loads of auxiliary slots. There you go, it's only going to cost me like 700 prestige. I'll get that prestige back from losses prevented. And one up here. Alright, perfect. And that's it for deployment. Let's, hopefully I didn't go too overboard with my deployment. I have plenty of auxiliary slots left to adapt to any situation that may occur. I think this front line is quite wide. I typically wouldn't want a front line that's this wide, but the way the map's designed, it just makes sense to just actually have a rolling front line. This wouldn't be a problem if I didn't have poor ground control, but since I do, it's a little bit too easy for them to just slip past if I don't have at least this many units to pad around with. I'm running a little bit more aircraft than would normally be standard, but we got ships to deal with, so I need strat bombers. It's that simple. Which I thought, because when I played the last mission before, when I made the trailer for the game, long before the game was released, it did have ships in it, so I thought there was going to be ships, but there wasn't. So I actually over-deployed strat bombers last time, but this time there definitely will be ships, because the briefing said so. Alright, that's it for deployment. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time.